Welcome to A Moment in Time with Nex. Today I'm doing a book review on this book, Loneliness, by John Cacioppo, not sure how to pronounce it, and William Patrick. Bear with me, I actually just recorded this video. I recorded over 15 minutes of content before I realized that my microphone was not picking up any sound at all. I had the genius idea yesterday to trim down how many apps start on my PC at startup. So I disabled my Go XLR microphone from powering up at startup apparently. And now when I was recording, there was no sound. So I'm a little frustrated and a little bit discouraged, but the show must go on. And this message is so important. So I will not let anything get in the way of me telling you about this book, Loneliness. So let's get into it. The moral of the story with this book is that loneliness is a very dangerous feeling. Now, the thing with loneliness is we can't look at a person and tell whether or not they're lonely. So lonely and alone are not the same thing. Being alone is an objective state. So you can say I'm alone or I'm not alone, and that's based on who's around you. But loneliness is a feeling. So you can feel lonely even when you're surrounded by other people, and you can be alone and not feel lonely. Make sense? So we're not really talking about being alone here, although being socially isolated is more likely to lead to feelings of loneliness. We're really talking about the feeling of loneliness. Because feeling lonely and chronic loneliness can lead to so many negative outcomes. Poor health outcomes, poor financial outcomes, poor relationship outcomes. I mean, physical health problems to the point where it leads to early death. All causes of early death, according to a 1979 study. It was heart disease, so ischemic heart attacks, cardiovascular disease. It's all in here. See if I can get to it quickly enough here. Cerebrovascular and circulatory disease, cancer, and a broader category that included respiratory, gastrointestinal, and all other causes of death. In 1988, an article in Science reviewed subsequent research, and in that meta-analysis indicated that social isolation is on par with high blood pressure, obesity, lack of exercise, or smoking as a risk factor for illness and early death. So this message is so important. If you're feeling lonely, please listen up. And if you're not feeling lonely right now, good for you. And also there's probably going to be a time in your life where you may feel lonely, so this is still going to be relevant for you. And just to keep in mind how other people in the world may be feeling and going through life and why they may act and think the way that they do. Now, personally, the why behind why loneliness leads to all these bad outcomes is less interesting to me than just simply accepting that it does and then trying to figure out ways to solve or prevent loneliness. But I do think that the social control hypothesis or the social control theory is a good one. I think it has a lot of good merit, and I think it's probably pretty true and accurate. It's just difficult in psychology to really say something is a law and 100% caused by this thing. You know, there's so much nuance. But the social control hypothesis basically just says we behave differently when we're alone than when we're with other people. And when we're with other people, we exert more self-control, and we're way less likely to engage in unhealthy, destructive behaviors and activities than when we're with someone else. And even for me, I'm just lazier when I'm alone. Like last night I was sleeping here at my roommate's house, so I went to bed alone, and I don't even know if I brushed my teeth. But when I go to bed with my boyfriend and I get in bed with him, I definitely brush my teeth every single time. It's like, if there's no one there to tell you that you stink, then who's there to tell you that you stink? So kind of having people around helps us to stay on top of things and stay on top of our own practices. And also it's like there's this ability for humans to perceive ourselves through someone else's perspective to some extent. Sometimes we're very bad at that and we think someone's thinking something they're not. A lot of times we do that. But the idea that like, I think this is why therapy works. So when you go to a therapist, you tell them things. And when you're telling them something, you're kind of thinking, even before you say it, maybe like, how are they going to respond to this? How are they going to react? What are they going to think? And these kinds of ideas, it's almost like a therapist or any third party just represents society at large. They represent other people. What would other people think? What would everyone think? What does everyone else think? Is this okay? Is this healthy? Is this normal? So having social connections helps us to kind of get that feedback that helps us know, like, okay, do other people have this experience? Is this a healthy, normal part of the human development process, or is there something maybe wrong? These kinds of connections and conversations are really important. And also, like, if you're feeling really lonely, I think therapy is a great place to start, because a therapist is uniquely suited to help people with something like loneliness, because not only is it a feeling and it goes into like the emotional, mental, psychological realm, it also has to do with relationships, which therapists are often very good at helping people to manage and work towards healthy, secure attachment styles, healthy, secure relationship and communication strategies. So they can be really, really helpful. There's also something called SST, which is social skills training or social skills therapy, which can be helpful if sometimes you feel like you have a hard time connecting with other people. Hope that helps. Now, the thing with loneliness is feeling too lonely for too long can warp our sense of reality. So not only are we feeling lonely, but we also tend, like when we're feeling lonely for a long period of time, we tend to become more cynical. Like we become more negative. We are more critical. We're more judgmental. We're mistrusting. You know, we don't really trust people. We kind of assume people have bad intentions, and we can even become more angry. And all of these kinds of energies are antisocial, right? They don't help us with social connection and relationships. So it can be this negative feedback loop where you think that people are a certain way, and then you act a certain way because of that. So then they treat you that way, and that verifies that belief, and it kind of is this vicious cycle. So that's really dangerous, and a lot of people do fall into that trap, but it doesn't have to be permanent. You know, my last podcast episode was about change, and the idea of your brain's ability to change and be neuroplastic. So it's never too late to change the way that you're thinking or the way that you're feeling. Again, a therapist or a professional, a coach, even loved ones, family and friends can be really helpful for this, because even if you're feeling lonely, you might have family and friends. I'm not going to assume that you don't. I know that there were times in my life I felt really, really lonely, and I had friends and I had family at that time. So don't be afraid to reach out for help and tell people how you're feeling. Express that you're feeling lonely, because like I said at the beginning of the video, you can't see if someone's feeling lonely or not. Even when I was feeling lonely, I was smiley and happy and friendly with people a lot of the time, but I was still feeling really lonely, and I wasn't really telling anyone that. I don't know if I realized that's what I was feeling at the time or what, but be on the lookout. Just like ask people, like you can even ask people like, how often do you feel lonely, and just kind of get a gauge. You'll see that sometimes if you go to the doctor, there will be like questionnaires, and they'll say how many times in the last week or month have you felt lonely or helpless, and you know, they're kind of gauging for depression, and loneliness is closely associated with this. So realizing that you might actually, there's a good chance that you might actually believe all these things about people and kind of feel negatively towards people because you have been lonely for so long. What you believe about people might not actually be true, and it might actually be preventing you from experiencing all the good things that people can bring to your life and to your world, like helping you to live a longer, happier life. Chronic loneliness also impedes your prefrontal cortex. It impairs the function of the most important part of your brain, arguably most important part of your brain. This is the part of your brain that's responsible for decision making, self-control, so being disciplined, reacting and responding appropriately, exercising, being healthy. All of these things are operated and managed in that prefrontal cortex. So when you're feeling lonely, you are less able to control yourself, which is more likely to make you reactive, overreactive maybe. And when you're feeling cynical and mistrusting and angry, these things that we just talked about, you might also become aggressive or even antagonistic, picking and starting fights, being kind of nasty, being kind of rude, being disrespectful, pushing people away before they can push you away, rejecting them before they can reject you. All these kinds of touchy, difficult things that can happen. And people who are lonely it impedes their sleep. They're more likely to overeat and less likely to exercise. So you can see how these behaviors also lead to physical problems as well. So those of you who are like, I don't do therapy, all this feelings mumbo jumbo. Okay, well, it's going to cause you to die early if you're lonely. So if you're not lonely and you don't want to go to therapy, I don't know, it's not my problem, but I'm just saying what I'm saying, okay? Let me cook. Feeling lonely can also lead to self-destructive behaviors, risky behaviors like drug use, promiscuous, risky sex, because there's an effort to try to numb or reduce the feeling of loneliness. And there's also the diminished ability to control yourself and to keep yourself from doing things that could be harmful to you or other people in your life. So there's just so much risk from every angle. And I mean, I've been studying this for almost a decade. I've known the dangers of loneliness for a long time. That's why I've been live streaming almost every single day for years now. And I still think it's really, really an important message, and I plan to continue spreading it. And I'm really glad that this book talks about this because I've known about this problem for years, but I really liked what this book had to say about a practical, okay, what do I do about it? How do I get into my community and start changing this? And what they said is you want to start having intentionally positive social interactions as soon as possible. You're already interacting with someone somewhere at some point. Unless you are entirely homebound, you interact with people at the gas station, at the grocery store, at the least. Okay, let's just say those two places. Well, you can start to say something positive to the gas station attendant or the person ringing you out at the grocery store. You can say something just as benign as something nice about the weather, like, ooh, nice and sunny out there today. Oh, I like that it's finally cooling down and now we have our sweater weather. It's so cozy. Oh, wow, I really like that shirt. Where did you get it? How long have you worked here? You seem like you really know what you're talking about. How do you like working here? Oh, you have such a great smile. Certain things about like physical, if you can avoid the physical, sometimes that's an easy thing. Like if someone has really striking eyes or really cool pink hair or something and you want to comment on that, sometimes that can be fine. I know that a large portion of my audience are male, and I know as a female, when I'm using cis-normative language here, but sometimes like if a guy compliments my physical appearance, if he's like, oh wow, you have such beautiful eyes, or you have such a nice smile, or I love your hair or something, sometimes I can feel a little bit like maybe he's hitting on me or flirting with me. And so therefore the interaction might not be that positive because I might be like, oh, I have a boyfriend or something weird, like it can put a little bit of ick. So by keeping it not based on the person's physical appearance, you can kind of guard yourself from that kind of experience. You can also even just say something that's completely self-centric, like, oh, hey, I just started watching this really cool show on Netflix. Have you seen it? Have you heard about it? Oh, I've been getting really into this show. I'm gonna go, maybe you're getting some snacks and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go home and go binge watch this show, blah blah blah, you know that one? And maybe they go, no, never heard of it, have a good time. It's like you're just trying to make a connection, you're trying to have some kind of positive interaction with someone. And the best advice that from this book, and I think almost foolproof way to do this, is to volunteer. Because when you're volunteering, the chances of you having positive social interactions are pretty high. People are going to say thank you. People are going to compliment your altruism, your ability to volunteer and pitch in and help out where other people won't. especially for men, because men are substantially less likely to volunteer than women are. So not only will you probably meet some cool volunteering ladies while you're there to be friends with first, okay? But also you're going to stand out because you're going to be like, yeah, I'm not like other men. Here I am volunteering, being cool. And I'm making these little jokes about like Riz and dating and romance, but even just purely like friendship, just being a helpful member of your community and of your society, of your town, is a huge step in the right direction if you're currently just stewing at your home alone most of the time, complaining about how horrible everyone is. Maybe go out, help some people who have it even worse than you do. You might have forgotten there's people out there like that because you've been playing your own pity party music for so long. But you might realize, oh wow, there's people that have it even worse than me, and maybe you don't hate those people so much. Maybe you actually feel something for them that you haven't felt in a while about anyone. And maybe by helping them, you awaken something that's been kind of cold and dead inside of you for too long. I'm just saying, maybe. Maybe. It's only by connecting with other people and getting around other people and having positive social interactions that you can begin to untangle and unwind those wrong beliefs about how people truly are. So team up with some people and see how things change for you. So, I'm Nex. I talked. I hope you liked it. This has been a moment in time with Nex, and I would give this book, Loneliness, probably 3 out of 5. A very, very, very important subject, but not a necessary read. You don't have to read it to understand the importance of having positive social interactions and relationships with people. So go out there and do it. I love you. Bye.